This video, I'm going to break down for you my personal recommendations for fast food for musicians, whether you're on tour, you've got a late night gig and you just need to get dinner. We're basically just going to rank them based on how healthy they are, how accessible they are, and of course, the essential, how cheap they are. So, let's get right into it. Now, these are all Australian ones because I live in Australia and I'm not familiar with other cuisines. First up, good old Vietnamese rolls. I'm a big fan of Vietnamese rolls. However, the problem with Vietnamese rolls is that you're not going to get a whole lot of energy out of them. And while they are healthy, they're not going to give you the fuel that you need if you have them early in the day, and they usually shut later on in the day. So I'm going to give them a solid D tier. Sushi, pretty much the exact same. D tier. Domino's Pizza. Now, the thing about Domino's is that on gig nights, Domino's will always be open late and they will always have a wide selection of food. The good things about Domino's are that it's a lot of calories and you can get some really great toppings. The bad thing about Domino's is that it has to be on a pizza base, and unfortunately, pizza base is generally not the best for you. So for that reason alone, it is in C tier. GYG, the classic. Open relatively late, which is good. Taste, sensational, which is even better. And a hack that I found is that if you get a salad from Guzman's and then you just fill it with meat, I prefer beef, whatever you're into. So you get your beef salad. It's actually like keto friendly. So if you're on some kind of diet, which is restricting anything, you can still have Guzman's and still get it done. So I love Guzman's. Guzman's, S tier. Next up, Pizza Hut. Exact same as Domino's, a little bit more expensive. Carl's Jr. I've been to Carl's today already. Carl's Jr. always have a $3 double cheeseburger special. If you get 5 cheeseburgers for $15, it's about 2,000 calories, which is pretty much enough to sustain you for a day. It's going to be a little bit under, but it's 15 bucks. 100 grams of protein, which is pretty solid for most people. If you need more protein, you would know that you need more protein, and you'd probably know how much you need too. So if you go to Carl's and you spend $15 on double cheeseburgers, you're basically set for calories, you're set for protein. They've got fresh onion on them, which is really nice, and pickles are pickles. They're full of, good stuff. Carl's Jr. also gets an S tier. Cold Rock ice cream. Cold Rock, the best ice cream, the finest cuisine in all the lands. However, they're usually not open, sort of after a gig will be finished. And it's also pretty bad for you. So I will give Cold Rock an E tier, but only because they taste so good. Next up, we have Ricework, another one that I'm not familiar with. Sumo. I've had a sumo bowl before. It was a very enjoyable experience, but it was also a very expensive experience. I am a huge fan of them though. They're all healthy meals. They're all pretty filling. I've had a great experience there. They taste great. I will give it A tier, but only because it is so darn expensive. Papa Rich, never been. Sushi Hub. Sushi Hub is unique because Sushi Hub, in contrast to Sushi and Rolled, they have very large servings of teriyaki chicken, in my personal experience. And those servings might cost about the same as like a sushi. But those big serves, they will fill you up more, you can get more protein because it's more chicken, and so therefore I will give it a C tier, but only just. Mad Mex, never been. However, I had a look at their menu, and if it tastes as good as it sounds, it'll be very good. So Mad Mex, it looks like they usually close at about 10. Very similar to Guzman's in most ways, but allegedly, according to one Yelp review that I read, their food is spicy. and I like spicy food, so I'm going to give that a B tier, just to change things up a little bit. I don't believe that that's very accessible though, and I only say that because I don't know of any existing, and I've been around. Next up, KFC. KFC is an in-depth one, and the reason that KFC is so in-depth is because, on the one hand, everything is chicken, and chicken is a really great source of protein. It'll fill you up. It's not that bad for you. It's actually like quite solid. And even though it's deep fried, like you'll still probably be able to hit macros with it. And the deep frying only cooks it more than it actually processes it, so to speak. So KFC is really good in that regard. But the problem with KFC is that if you go to KFC, it's very rare that you end up just buying the chicken. What you'll do is you'll buy a zinger, which itself, breadcrumbs on the chicken, starting to get in the territory of this is less healthy now. And it's deep fried, even less healthy. And then you'll probably put that zinger in a burger, which then you just add on the bun, which is not very good. You add on all the sauces, maybe you get some chips on the side. In KFC, it's a really affordable option, but the only thing that I would recommend getting from KFC is anytime that they have a nuggets deal on. Nuggets are pretty safe because it's literally just chicken. It's been put in oil. Like, could be worse, but it's usually pretty cheap. It's usually quite tasty, very accessible. KFCs are open till like 10 everywhere, so it's quite good. But unless they have that particular special, it's not a very good option. So we're going to go B tier for KFC. Schnitz. I love them. They are meat-based. Meat is very good. Not only are they meat-based, but additionally, their prices are high, but reasonable for the service that you get. And they're not everywhere, but most towns have them. So I don't think I've seen a Schnitz actually in, let's say, Brisbane. But in a lot of regional areas, they do have them instead of, say, McDonald's. So for that reason, I'm going to give Schnitz an A tier. Even things out a little bit. Subway. Subway, the king of fresh food. Or are they? Dun dun dun. Subway is great. There are a lot of benefits to Subway, but ultimately how good it is depends on what you order. So one thing that isn't going for Subway is that they're expensive for the serving sizes that you get. But one thing that is going for Subway is you can kind of get anything that you want. As far as them being fresh, I've heard stories about them not being fresh and being super preservative. I've heard other stories of them being the best thing around. I'm not going to judge, I'm just going to pretend that their marketing is correct. And we're going to say that Subway is fresh and expensive. And the onus is entirely on you. There's nothing at Subway where you can go, hi, I would like this thing. And you know that that thing immediately, just because you said that you'll order it, is going to be good for you. You could buy something that is good for you at Subway and then turn it into something that's horrible for you and then stack on top more cookies. And then it's it becomes a problem. So Subway, it's going to really depend on the kind of person that you are. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in C tier. Because we'll see. More sushi joints. I'm going to put it in D tier, just as a default. Salsas. Never been. Mr. Burger. Once again, never been. Unfortunately, because I've heard good things. Now, some kebabs. Kebabs are great. Not because of the kebabs, or the halal snack packs, which are also great. But just the meat that they put in kebabs, it might be mystery meat, sure. But, in general, that mystery meat, it's well cooked, it's very safe to eat, it's very accessible, it's everywhere where there is a bar, there is a HSP within walking distance. And because it's so meat based, you can actually get away with a lot. So if you choose a gluten-free like wrap for the kebab, it'll usually actually cut out a number of carbs for you as well, which is pretty ideal. So kebabs are going to go A tier. The classic Donut King. I don't think this can be overstated how bad donuts are for you. And there's not really anything good on the menu. It's tasty, but it's not very, it's not everywhere. It's relatively expensive, given that it's just, bread, effectively. It's bad for you. And it's also not available at gigging hours. So our first F tier. Next up, we have New Zealand Natural Ice Cream. It's the same story as Cold Rock in that it's ice cream. It's not great for you. It's much more expensive than Cold Rock. But at the same time, it's better. So we have another E tier for that. Pie Face. Not very accessible. A little bit overpriced in my opinion, but there's a lot of them at service stations. So if you're on tour and the only thing open is, say, 7-Eleven, McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, you'll still be able to get Pie Face at a 7-Eleven or at a, United BP, whatever it is. And so you could do a lot worse than a Pie Face. I'll put that in C tier. Grilled. Grilled is some fine eating. They have a deal every Wednesday, which I know is not a gig night, but where you get double the meat in your burger. That's awesome. Heaps of protein, heaps of calories. You can get a cheeseburger, double it, and then it's only $13. They're thick patties. They're, I believe, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. It's very high quality stuff. You do pay for it though. And they may not be open. They have individual hours and they probably won't be open until 10 p.m. But if you can get your hands on one before the gig, top stuff, great choice. I'll put them in B tier. Hungry Jack's, the classic. One thing about Hungry Jack's or Burger King and McDonald's, they are notoriously bad for you. And the reason that they are notoriously bad for you is because they are bad for you. So, we have no choice but to put them both in E tier. The only reason that they're not in F tier is purely because you don't have to get fries and you don't have to get a drink. If you get yourself just a really regular burger and you throw the bun away, it's not going to be the worst for you. However, most likely you go to McDonald's and you get a McFlurry and you get a full meal. You probably get a large Coca-Cola with that meal. And it's you just add on all of these negative things to what could otherwise be a pretty positive experience. Well, pretty positive. Even if it only sold the burgers, it'd still be B tier. Hops. Moving on. Red Rooster. Red Rooster is one that I haven't been to in a while. But they basically just serve chicken. And it is rotisserie chicken, which is one of the healthiest ways of cooking chicken. And, well, they're pretty cheap. They're affordable. They're not everywhere. But if you can get your hands on some Red Rooster, you're going to do a great job in terms of keeping yourself healthy on a budget, and their hours are usually pretty solid. So they go into S tier. Oliver's. I've never been, unfortunately. Hog's Breath. Very expensive. Very good food. Not very accessible in terms of there's only a few locations scattered around. And the food that they give is quite good, but there's not that many of them, and they may not be open. They probably won't be open after your gig, and especially by the time that you drive all the way to get to one. So for that reason, I'll put them in C tier. Zambrero. Similar deal to Hog's Breath, but slightly better for you, slightly less expensive. It's less of a... I find Zambreros to be more of a fast food, less of a sit-down food. Say Hog's Breath, it's you gotta get a big serve. But Zambreros, you can get like a burrito, or you can get a burrito bowl, or you can get, nachos, you can get all that kind of thing. So for that reason, I'll put Zambreros in B tier. Krispy Kreme donuts. Just don't. I don't think I need to explain why. Full of sugar. Absolute rubbish for you. But they do exist. If you're that desperate that you go to 7-Eleven specifically for Krispy Kremes, I don't think that food is your problem at that point. Never had that. Never had that. Nando's peri peri chicken. Very solid meal. Nando's is a tricky one because on the one hand it's very similar to Red Rooster, but on the other hand it's more of like a fast food, like get a side of chips with all of your food, and it's definitely not one that I would like go out of my way to say, yes, go to this place, it's a phenomenal eating establishment. I would feel comfortable putting it in B tier, and so I will. Noodle Box. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to immediately put it into C tier. Noodle Box is a solid option. They probably won't be open, and there's not necessarily that many of them around. There's a few in certain areas. But the thing about Noodle Box is that all of their like sort of meals are great, but the noodles are actually like the least healthy thing out of the lot in general. Pasta, it's like there's not that many gluten-free options in terms of the noodles, and it's pasta. It's made from flour, and the flour's bleached. It's like cheap stuff, and you could do worse. But if you get a box with no noodles, it's actually quite a solid meal. So I'm going to put it right into C tier, where it started. Aporto, more kebabs. Kebabs are great. I've mentioned this before. So, B tier, right next to the other kebab shop. Sorry, I lied. A tier. Pizza Capers. D tier for the same reason as all of the other ones, except they're even less accessible now. There used to be heaps of them. Royal Stacks I've never been to. Subway, we already have on the list right there. And the Pancake Parlour. I've been to one, I believe, in Sydney. And it's a breakfast food. That's all there is to say. So I hope that this has been helpful for you in figuring out some of your meal choices while you're out on tour. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you chuck us a like, chuck us a subscribe, and maybe leave a comment, because I'm sure that you disagree with at least one thing on my list, and I'm sure that you've been to Sandwich Chefs, Spice Workshop, Papa Rich's, Salsa's, La Porchetta, Mr. Burger, Oliver's, Souvlaki Hero, Lord of the Fries, or Royal Stacks, and you will be able to tell me where they should have gone. Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next one.